Good afternoon, wrestling fans. I hope you're well. Welcome to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. We're back again. I'm joined by regular co-host Steve from SCW, and we're here to discuss last night's Smackdown. What a fantastic show it was last night. Going to go into a lot of detail in the show. We've got some big news to discuss. WWE and New Japan's relationship, the main event of SummerSlam guest host. There's a lot of news today. This is obviously 29th of May 2021. Before we go any further, most important thing, how are you today, Steve?
Yeah, really good. And do you know what? I never really have the chance to say this very often, but your intros, I love them. And this one, when I always hear the theme of this song coming on when we come on for Smackdown, it always makes me really happy. I get the vibe. I'm in the mood. So, no, I'm feeling even better now.
It's definitely a contrast to Raw. I think you got to be a bit different, but no, definitely it's a bit of an uplifting theme. But thank you, nicely to say. So let's kind of go into this then. So we're obviously going to go into what happened on last night's SmackDown, and just anybody, if you've got any comments, just leave them below, and we'll obviously read them. We've got some in already just before we go into the show, so I'll go into them. The official TNT 2K, even all early for the live guys. Thank you for checking out the stream. It is it's probably not that early here. It's like nearly kind of 5 o'clock. Is it similar time where you are, Steve?
Yeah, it is exactly the same as you. 4:45 right now. So yeah, it's a late afternoon, getting towards that early evening.
Definitely, it makes a change not to be on so late. I know you've been doing streams at like nearly midnight, which is
I know. Yeah, it's been a bit crazy of late, but yeah, no, it's always good fun though.
Definitely. So let's kind of get into this then. So Friday Night SmackDown, we're at the Union Center as always. It starts with backstage. We've got Usos and Roman Reigns. Very much shows up what happened last week. We're kind of playing on that. It crucially ends up that sort of Roman's still disapproving Jimmy and Jey. I really love this. I think this was a really kind of fun way to start the show. This is your most important angle on SmackDown at the moment. They've done some fantastic layers of the storyline. What did you make of the Usos starting up the show this week again?
I love the drama. I love the way that it just, every layer of storytelling, you can just tell every character's playing their role perfectly. Jimmy being so happy that the Usos are back together in this tag team environment. The fact that Jey, you can see he knows that Roman's mad and he kind of doesn't want to upset his brother either. It's just, I love that dynamic as well. Roman, it's kind of like good luck to the guys out there for the tag team division, but you could just see as well, Roman, he's got something ticking in his head and he shows it in his facial as well. The way it's presented is just absolutely fantastic. So I'm absolutely loving the direction of this.
Definitely. So the show obviously opens up. We do have the Street Profits and the Usos kind of in the ring. There's dueling promos there. Really kind of gets heated. They're both sort of exchanging catchphrases. Really kind of like this. I love the heel heat from sort of Jey. Jey goes, if you say anything about Roman, I'm going to fill you in, basically, this lot. I really love it. The arrogance of Jey. You've got Jimmy as a babyface, which is interesting. But this really got me hyped for this opening match. I thought it's great to see the Usos back in this tag team format. What did you think of that in promo?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Street Profits did fine. Sometimes I find they are very charismatic. They're very different. Sometimes they go on the verge of annoying, just for me on occasions. But I do think that they bring something different. They're not generic by any means. And I like the fact they bring full-fledged personality to the screen. But when the Usos came out together, like you say, it just gone up a level. There's something different now. I was pumped that the Usos were there. Again, they're playing the dynamics perfectly. Jimmy Uso, seeing the disrespect that was given to them as a tag team, but for Jey, it was all about you disrespected the head at the table. That's why you need sorting out. Don't matter what you say about us, you disrespected Roman.
Definitely. Going into this match, and this match opens up the show. Really, really good match. They got a lot of time. 20 minutes is quite rare to see a tag match go 20 minutes. I think it was really, really good. And the fact we got a clean finish, I really loved it. I thought it was a great match. Crucially, we do get the Usos picking up the win, so they are going to go into that World Tag Team title next week on SmackDown. And for me, it was the right move. I can't believe it. I've never really realised this. The work of the Street Profits, they're a fantastic tag team. I think they were fantastic in this match. I think they've been overlooked before, but I really kind of enjoyed it. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, you're looking at a tag team that's been well established for many, many years, and the Usos that have not been a team for, I think it was a year the last time they were a tag team. Like you say, you got the Street Profits. They are the tag team of the 20s. We look at every other team in WWE. This is the top team currently of the 20s. And to have that sort of these two given that time together to give a fantastic match, it really was something that was worth being excited for the last 7 days. So I think it was fully merited. Fantastic match. And like you say, we kind of got a clean finish, a little bit dirty in the fact there. When I say dirty, I mean Jey saved Jimmy, didn't he, at that point? Because Jimmy couldn't quite get the job done the way it was, because it's that level at the moment that Jimmy is still Usos and Jey is main event Jey. And I like that sort of dynamic that they've got going with this tag team. Again, it goes into that perfect storytelling, and then Jimmy hitting the super kick on Montez to get the free count. I loved it. I thought this was superb. Probably of matches, easily my favorite match of the whole show of SmackDown, and just the story as well as the way it's laid out. It's just, it's fantastic.
Definitely. I think the thing with it that's so good is the rebooking of Jimmy since he's come back. I already thought when Jimmy come back, he'd be in the middle of the card doing nothing. But the way he's come back and he's got so much interest, so much invested interest, the layer they've added to that storyline, it's just so well done. I think credits to WWE, this is really, really done well.
Absolutely. You got the baby face, you got the heel, and you got the tweener. I like the way it's all going. And yeah, it's almost, you can feel that tug of war on Jey Uso and what way, who is going to win? How is it going to play out? We're going to find out over recent weeks. And I look forward to seeing each part of the storyline unraveling in front of our very eyes.
Definitely. Our next match we've got here, so we've got the non-title women's tag team title match. It's Natalya and Tamina facing the Riot Squad. This was okay. It didn't get very long. Crucially, Natalya and Tamina retain. This makes sense. I think everybody's really impressed with the work Natalya and Tamina going. They're getting some real good crowd reaction, I think, from the people in the Thunderdome. You can see the reaction to them. I was a fan of this retaining. It was a quick win for them. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I was really pleased to see the Right Squad on SmackDown. Regardless, they didn't get their entrance or anything like that. They've not been on TV for a while, probably too long for my liking. To see them in this match here, it's a fresh match. It's not Baszler and Jax going for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So this felt fresh. It felt different. The same sort of story that's been playing out in recent weeks since the Tamina push from WrestleMania. Tamina is the strong point of that tag team. Natalya takes the beatings and Tamina gets the wins. And it was done the same there with the Liv Morgan hitting her finisher to Natalya on the floor. At the same time, Tamina hitting a splash on Ruby Riott. And of course, the way Ruby sold that headbutt and looked in the ring, that was quite an image, wasn't it? And
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a match, but it was the right result. And let's see where it goes going forward. But I'm very pleased to see the Right Squad on TV once again.
I think I love the finish. I think the Superfly smash off the top of Natalya, I think it just works so well. And I think it's got great nostalgia for me, really. That's the kind of last thing I'd say on that part. You want to feel right about the match, or should we move forward?
Just to say, you mentioned about the Superfly splash there. Pat McAfee always makes reference to the fact that that splash is done, aka Jimmy Snuka. So the fact is that you're getting that reference each and every time just adds a bit more value and importance to that move that's been done there. It's a legacy thing, isn't it? It's been passed down from generation.
Definitely. Got a comment here from Noobico. Good afternoon. Thank you again for checking out the stream. Good morning. Yeah, good morning to you, Noob. It's afternoon here. Thank you for your comment. It's great to see you here. Enjoy the stream. So moving forward, we obviously had a backstage promo. We've got Adam Pearce there. He's with the Usos. He kind of promises the match for next week. For me, this was fun. They needed to do that. But I got one small thing I'd like to have seen and one question. I was like, where's Sonya Deville? I think the way that I would like to have seen it if she was there, I would love to have seen it, him say, no, you're not having a match. You've only had one match. And then her override him. But she obviously was missing, but it was the right outcome anyway. What did you think of the promo and no Sonya Deville?
Fantastic. The idea there, you said of no Sonya Deville was very key to this, but obviously in a way, like you say, again, those facials, the reactions, it's everything. Adam Pearce grants the match. Jimmy Uso so happy. Jay's like, uh-oh. You know that if Sonya Deville was there, she would have been feeling, if she'd have been overrided with her idea of what it'd been, she would have been feeling the same as Jey. So in a way, it's kind of good she was off camera, but in another way, I'd have liked to have seen how she would have felt always, because she's got a smart answer as well there. It's almost like, I'd have just like that little thing there going, right, I wonder what the head of the table thinks. Just something would have added more to it. But like you say, it was the right outcome. And this story, like we say, it's playing out very, very nicely.
Definitely. Our next match we've got here. So we've got the Women's Smackdown champion, Bianca Belair, against Carmella. This is obviously Carmella's first match since she was able to beat Ruby Riott back on Smackdown Throwback. Great to see Carmella back here. I'm really a fan of her work. I think she's really, really good. This match was okay. The time they got, I really kind of enjoyed it. Crucially, we've got Bayley out there. Bayley was fantastic on commentary yet again, which I really, really like. I think she's really a highlight of this match for me, to be fair. I think she was really, really good. Crucially, Bianca gets the win. And that's kind of it, really. What did you think of the match and Bayley on commentary?
Yeah, I enjoyed the segments overall. I think that everything was fine. There was nothing to criticize. I wouldn't say that the match was a 5-star, but I think it's great to see, again, it's great to see Carmella on TV. She's not been on there for a while, certainly not in a prominent role. I was thinking, actually, watching it, that I look forward to Carmella getting an opportunity to go to Raw in the next shuffle, draft, whatever they do. With Corey being on Raw, they're going to go back on the road. It will only be a matter of time before Carmella finally leaves SmackDown after, 5 years of being on that brand. She needs to freshen stuff up for herself, but it's going to be great to see. But in the meantime, she's the right sort of filler opponent for Bianca Belair at this point. And like you say, Bayley on commentary, hilarious, very entertaining. And the fact as well that she even called up Michael Cole for butchering Bianca Belair's name at the end there and just making a good fun of it as well. So no, I enjoyed everything here.
Definitely. I think it's a really, really kind of good feud. Even though we've seen Bianca Belair own Bayley again and again and again, it's a great placeholder so Sasha Banks comes back. Crucially, this is going to Hell in a Cell. Are you excited for this match at Hell in a Cell when it's announced?
I am looking forward to it. Yeah, I feel SmackDown, you've got a clearer idea of where matches are going for the pay-per-view in comparison to Raw. So I really like that. And also, like you said there, with these two, it's a fun rivalry. I'm enjoying it. It keeps Bayley heavily on TV as well in a program. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Bayley and Carmella go for the tag titles after this, actually. It would give them both something to do. Yeah, I mean, something you mentioned last week, and it is the focal point of this feud, is the hair of Bianca Belair. Is it going to end up on the line? What's going to happen with it? It will be interesting if it does happen. It would be a fantastic shout from yourself last week.
Yeah, definitely. I think SummerSlam's a place to do it. I don't know if Bayley's the opponent of choice. I think Sasha Banks is the one. I think Sasha versus Bianca is really the money feud in this division when Sasha comes back, which will obviously, as far as we know, it's going to be July, which is quite a bit of time to go. But no, credits to it. It's great to see Bayley back on TV. I'm enjoying that certainly every single week at the moment.
Yeah, same here. And you make a great point with Sasha Banks, of course, obviously with the hair whip at WrestleMania, the mark that it left, it would definitely probably be the right opponent.
Definitely. Our next thing, we had a promo from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins knows Cesaro's not in the building. He totally utterly buries him. It's a very heel promo because it's Seth Rollins' birthday. Yeah, I thought it was okay. They're hyping up this match. It's going to be at Hell in a Cell. Yeah, it did what it kind of needed to do, really. What did you think of the Seth Rollins promo?
Well, the missus has told me I'm not allowed his suit anyway. That was definitely a loud choice for him, but it was his birthday. I'm pleased it wasn't the birthday suit, so it's definitely better than what we got. But you know, it's one of those things where you look at with Seth Rollins. The start first half of it was a bit weird, especially with the audio thing. I found that a bit strange, but Seth Rollins managed to recover this very, very well. The fact he said that it wasn't just Cesaro's fault for being believed that he could be a bigger role than being against Seth Rollins, but also it's the people at home, it's the fans, it's our fault with this. And of course, just the way it was delivered, I thought was really, really well done. And multiple different sources seem to be saying to me in the YouTube community that this feels like the most likely Hell in a Cell match that we could get at the pay-per-view. Do you feel it would be that? Because it certainly feels like it's the real blood feud right now.
Yeah, it's the only one we've got that's kind of got that hatred, despite Cesaro burying Seth every kind of time. It's only Seth with the cheap attacks. It's one of them. It gives Cesaro something to do. He does need to get his momentum back after losing to Roman. So yes, I would hope it's one and done, really. I really want to see this done. I'd love to see Cesaro move on to something else. But it'll be good. I think from an in perspective, it'll be good. I don't know if it's going to be as gritty as the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match we watched last night on Hell in a Cell, that's for sure.
Probably not. Probably not.
But definitely. I'm going to go to the comments. I've got one from a few here from Official 2NTK. He has put a scenario, so I'm going to read the scenario to you. He wants to get his thoughts on that. So I'll start this at the beginning. I'm telling you both now, we're not getting Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. We're getting Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso inside of Hell in a Cell. That's kind of the first one. For me, my thoughts of that, I think, yeah, I'd like to kind of see that. Roman Reigns, I kind of agree with that. Roman Reigns coming out of this show, there's no apparent opponent. From what I've heard today, Roman Reigns isn't scheduled to face Jimmy Uso. Apparently, that's not the plans at Hell in a Cell at the moment, and there's no obvious opponent for Roman. What do you think of kind of that comment? And we'll go into how he books it in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him because I had the same feeling watching SmackDown this week. We hadn't got to the segment which made me trigger to mention it yet on camera, but I would say that I agree that I think Jey versus Jimmy is going to happen. I suppose we could jump ahead and just say before we read that scenario that it seems like that Jey is being conflicted, the idea of main event Jey and being opener Jey, main event Jey singles competitor. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone gets in his head for next week to perhaps cost them the tag team championships and cause this match, perhaps either inside Hell in a Cell or certainly as a match. But definitely I'm looking forward because TNT always brings fantastic fun fantasy booking ideas. So lay it on me. I can't wait to hear it.
Definitely. He's got another one as well. I was kind of thinking the same with this one, so I'll get it up. The way he set it up is Roman Reigns hitting this one out, having them both rip each other apart. Jimmy Uso finally comes to his senses and acknowledges the tribal chief. I see a screwed finish for SmackDown tag team titles. I agree. I think if you give the Usos the SmackDown tag team titles, although it would create controversy for Roman Reigns, it's just going to be, I think they're too good for the belts, if that makes sense. I think it'd be far better if you've got that controversy between them all against kind of each other. What do you think, Steve? Who's going to win next weekend in this big match?
I mean, obviously, I think the champions will retain next week. Like you say, I think some shenanigans will take place. It depends how it's going to be. I could see Jey turning on Jimmy, being the scenario that happens. So let's see how it plays out. It's certainly one thing's for sure. There's interest. There's reason to watch. You cannot 100%. Miss it. So that's something that you can only ask for as a fan watching WWE.
Definitely, I agree. Moving forward then, so obviously we had this big Intercontinental title match. It's Apollo Crews facing Commander Aziz. This is a non-title match. For me, I was surprised we were getting it. I know that it's quite a big match. I know it's kind of, there's been teasing of it at the Fatal 4-Way. Crucially, we do get a disqualification win. And it's one of the things we get. Apollo Crews obviously retaining the belt. Crews obviously causes a disqualification after the match. There's the Nigerian now from Commander Aziz. And crucially, they have announced it's going to be a title match next week. For me, I really kind of enjoyed it. They didn't get very long. This is going to be a great match for the Intercontinental title. It further proves why the Intercontinental title is one of the best titles on SmackDown, probably besides the World title. And for me, credit to WWE, the booking of Kevin Owens sort of recently is so good. Like obviously earlier in the year, when we look back at it, we didn't see him on TV between February and April. He didn't have a match. So to see him back every single week now, it's fantastic. I don't know what you think of the match and that statement.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit of a shame that I thought it was such a short match between KO and Apollo. I was a bit disappointed about that part. But the thing is, KO, I had a feeling he was going to be the next contender in there. Like you say, hit his stunner. It looked like he was going to pick up the victory. And Commander Aziz coming in and hit that sort of nail. And I thought the selling of KO, I mean, it was a long time on him selling that Nigerian nail. But I tell you what, I mean, selling is everything in wrestling. And honestly, he made it look like it's the most devastating finisher going today. So credit to Kevin Owens doing that. Like you said, the booking of KO, he's got a purpose. He's got a role. I mean, he had a great program with Roman Reigns at the turn of the year. Had a bit of a break, like you say, going in before WrestleMania there with his program with Sami Zayn. And now he's going to go into against Apollo. He's got purpose on SmackDown. He seems to have important rivalries as well. If it's not the world title, it's the Intercontinental. And Intercontinental Championship has been booked very, very well in recent months. So, yeah, I'm really pleased to see with the direction. And I'm interested in that title match next week. And I don't think we get a new champion, which I would be a little bit sad about because I think KO is higher up than the Intercontinental Championship. But at the same time, I'm intrigued in it. I've definitely got interest.
Definitely. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a money match. This is a pay-per-view level match you're giving away on free TV again, which is really kind of good. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we'll get Kevin Owens as champion, but maybe a screwy finish and we can get like a title match at the pay-per-view. That may be the way they do it. But this is the point for Kevin Owens to have some sort of help to take out Aziz, I think, at the point. I think if you bring someone else in next week to try and help him, I don't know who you'd bring in. This is a guess. I really sort of, there could be somebody they bring in of some sort. And then obviously what you can then do, this can then lead to a tag match the week after. It gives him something to do, and then you can have the pay-per-view match where probably Apollo does beat Kevin Owens, unfortunately.
Possibly. I mean, one thing they did actually say backstage as well, though, is Commander Aziz is actually barred from ringside next week. He's not going to be there. So my thought process was, is Apollo going to have another person waiting in the wings to come and help him? That way he retains the championship. And then we have another tag team for the tag team division with Commander Aziz and I don't know, whoever you bring in, perhaps another big, heavy guy that's going to be helping there. We could have a really monster tag team. It could be like, well, hopefully better than the T-Bar Mace combo of Monday Night Raw, but let's see what we're going to get.
Call me crazy. How about Slapjack without the mask? Just as a brand new character almost. I know they probably wouldn't do that because Slapjack's obviously not that fond of people. People not that fond of him, basically.
No, it would be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, it would give him a role on TV. Yeah, that would definitely be something, wouldn't it?
I like that. I definitely like it. And that gives the heat to Apollo as well. Further makes sure that he holds onto the belt despite cheating his way to the belt, which is really good. Good analysis, Steve. Really kind of agree with that. Kind of moving forward, we have got Roman Reigns in the dressing room. He's there with Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns definitely looks really, really annoyed. He's clearly putting the guilt on Jey yet again. So this was a really, really good segment. I think the segment between Roman and the Usos, this is the closest thing on SmackDown that feels real life to me. I don't know what you think and what you thought of the segment.
Yeah, and like you say, it's like real life. And I was talking with Owen Minnis from the Hardest in Wrestling show very recently, and he said, like, you know, with family, with siblings and stuff like that, everybody can relate to this because we all have, you know, where you fall out with your brother or whatever at some point. So there has that realism to it. It feels believable. And I just love the fact that Roman Reigns, just being that guy who's head of the table, like you said, we spoke earlier on about this already, how we told to Jey, and Jey sort of said, never saw it from your point of view. I was main event, Jey, where you were telling me what to do. I go and do what Jimmy wants. They put me in the opener. It just shows as well how strategic and how clever the creative is to put the match on first between the Street Profits and the Uso early that night, because it's sometimes those little simple booking decisions, but it makes things come off so much more effective. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this.
Definitely. Moving kind of forward, then we had this dream match. It's Shinsuke Nakamura versus Chad Gable. Crucially, Rick Boogs is there, which is really, really good. It's great to see an NXT talent get some time there out on air. The entrance now feels important with Nakamura again, which is really, really good. For me, this was a dream match. This is the first Chad Gable match in a singles capacity since March 5th, where he lost to Dominic Mysterio. They didn't get very long, but Nakamura did pick up the win. After the match, Nakamura basically was arguing with Corbin. In the end, Rick Boogs makes a save, which was kind of interesting, and Nakamura got the crown back. What did you think of this dream match and the finish?
Chad Gable's so good. He's just amazing.
He's so good. He's doing more every single week.
It's ridiculous. I mean, just even the little bit of time he gets, the moves he hits, the way he delivers them, the execution, it's just perfection. It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, Nakamura picking up the victory, Corbin going to get his crown back, and of course, like you say, Rick Boogs hitting him there as well so that Nakamura can get his crown back at the end. I'm liking the combination of Nakamura and Boogs. It seems to be fun. The entrance seems really something again. Nakamura feels like he's got a new lease of life with a crown on him. I'm actually really enjoying this sort of, if you want, kickoff level feud between Nakamura and Corbin. I think it's fantastic. I'm pleased we've got Chad Gable on TV. This ticks a lot of boxes. I'm happy.
Definitely. I think it'd be great to see him do more. Really kind of enjoyed it. He's one that I think he deserves a lot more, but great to see him this time on TV. Let's hope this is a start of something. For me, he's very similar to where Matt Riddle was, where Matt Riddle wasn't so serious and stuff. Everyone knows they can do much better. So I think Chad Gable, give him some time. This guy could be like a new Kurt Angle for me. I think he's that good.
Yeah. He's that level, like even ability anyway. They'll push him as big as Charlie Haas, but I mean, like, he's got the ability of Kurt Angle without question. The only last bit I'll say is I'm sure we'll get Nakamura versus Otis next week on SmackDown.
Yeah, probably. Let's hope Nakamura keeps the win streak up. He needs to keep it up, doesn't he? Definitely.
Yeah,
we then had a backstage segment. We've got Rey Mysterio. He's been mysteriously attacked. It looks like Dominic's going to go into this match on his own. So this was your main event. It's the SmackDown Tag Team titles. It's Dominic Mysterio facing Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode because Rey Mysterio's injured. So this is obviously playing off of what we saw before, like on SmackDown, where it was kind of Dominic injured. So this was an okay match. It was kind of strong. Crucially, Rey Mysterio comes out sort of halfway through the match, which is expected. And you do end up with sort of them picking up the win. So Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio retain the belts, which is the right move. I'm kind of done with this Dirty Dogs Rey Mysterio feud. Dirty Dogs Mysterio's feud. I think I've kind of seen it enough. But this is an okay match. What did you think of the match and the retaining for the champions?
I thought it was all right. Like you say, it was a reverse role from what they did at the pay-per-view. There is an argument that could be made. Would it have been better to have done roles reverse and that Rey was the one beaten up at the pay-per-view and would have had more effect if Dominic had won? There is that kind of argument. But this made sense. There is room for one more match to actually have where neither of them are attacked. But it's clear the Dirty Dogs can't win handicap matches. So it doesn't seem to work. And like we say, we're moving on to another program now. Mysterios versus the Usos next week. I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings to the table. And yeah, I mean, for a main event, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't nothing to write home about either.
Definitely. We had the closing go home segment. So after the match, Usos make their entrance. They face off the Mysterios. We've obviously got Roman Reigns watching backstage with Paul Heyman. The camera focuses on Roman and Heyman. Reigns looks really, really angry. For me, this was a great go home segment. It's a cliffhanger segment, which I love. I think the only thing I expected Jey to attack one of the Mysterios with a cheap shot and then Jimmy to try and say that was wrong. You shouldn't have done that. That's the only thing I would have asked more of this. But this was a great segment. I don't know what you thought of the go home segment.
Yeah, I like that idea that you just said, especially if just something had just been triggered of like you disrespecting Roman or just a little twist in it. That would have been great. But yeah, as like you say, there was a cliffhanger still. You know Roman's thinking something. You know something's coming as a result of this next week. It's building up so nicely. I think I'm running out of good things to say about this. It built so well throughout the entire show because that's the thing. It's not just one segment. It went from minute 1 to minute close of the show with little, just couple of minute segments all the way through. Of course, with the big tag team match as well. This is phenomenal. It took over SmackDown, but it made it even more superior than what the show was already.
Definitely. I think sort of going forward, so let's score this show before we kind of go on to the news of the day. So the score of the show for me, I'll go first. I'll go 8 out of 10. Thought it was a really good show. All the in-ring action was really, really good. Although they had a lot of people missing them, so Sami Zayn this week. There's a few other people that were missing. It was still really, really good. I enjoyed it. I think the storyline and stuff like that make the show for me. I really want to see what happens in the next chapter, which is crucial every single week for me. What about you, Steve? What's your final thoughts on score of the show?
Yeah, I give it a very, very positive 7.5 out of 10. I think that it was a very strong show. It flowed very nicely. It flowed very quickly as well. I couldn't believe that SmackDown was finished when it was finished. That tells you everything of a wrestling show. If you go at the end of that show and think, I could have done more of that, that's what makes wrestling perfect. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Things flowed nicely. The main event stuff with Roman and the Usos. Can I even say more about that? I haven't said already. Yeah. I mean, that's what makes it amazing. The rest of the stuff, arguably, you could say some of it filler, but nice to see some of those faces on there. Good matches. Brilliant show. I enjoyed this. I'm a happy Steve coming out of it.
That's good to hear. Only one last thing I'll ask you, Steve, just before we kind of move forward with the news. So obviously Roman Reigns, we're like 3 weeks away from the pay-per-view now. He has no clear opponent, which is kind of interesting. Who do you think he'll face at the pay-per-view if he has a match? Who's your prediction if you're going to predict anybody?
Well, I always thought it would be Jimmy. There is an argument that you could do the Cesaro and Seth feud, put Roman in it with as well, because they have had where Seth and Cesaro have been into, they've been linked in with what Roman's doing here and there as well. But after this, we got the comment earlier. I agree. I think Jimmy versus Jey could be more likely. I think Roman could be focused on that rather than having a match at this point.
I think Jimmy versus Jey, Hell in a Cell. Let's put Roman as a special guest ref. Let's do that. That gets him out there. He doesn't have to defend the belt every single month. Looking forward to seeing what kind of happens there. So let's move forward into this big bit of news. We've got quite a few big bits of news, so we're going to cover that. The first one we're going to cover, obviously, this working relationship between WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, somebody that doesn't watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, I'm going to go to you, Steve. I know you used to kind of watch it in parts. What did you think of this kind of teased of announcement that's apparently going to be happening in this working relationship?
It's definitely interesting. I must admit, I'm a casual New Japan fan. I'm that guy where they go, Wrestle Kingdom's coming up. Oh, I'll give that a nosy and I'll go and watch that for a few hours. I normally will catch maybe Dominion or one or two other shows, but I'm not really the most dedicated over. What I'd say is whenever I do watch it, I'm always blown away by the great in-ring action. I think the thing is from this partnership, I looked at it and thought, well, I would be skeptical on how it would be booked in storylines with talent being traded. I do have a bit of a fear of Okada losing on Raw in about 5 minutes. That just doesn't feel right to me if that was to happen. But I do feel, though, that if you see WWE superstars going over to New Japan, let's say Daniel Bryan re-signs, maybe this is something linked to that. I've seen rumors going towards that. That would make a lot of sense that Daniel Bryan could be like in the G1 sort of tournament, building towards a contendership over then have dream matches with some of those opponents. That would be awesome to see. You can mention the likes of people like Chad Gable, who's not booked so strongly in WWE, will probably be booked really well and really appreciated over in Japan. You've got your big guys like Braun Strowman, the Godzilla kind of feel, probably be amazing over there. So from WWE to New Japan, I feel it's quite exciting. From New Japan to WWE, I would prefer it's just for big special moments. We're talking Royal Rumbles, WrestleManias, stuff like that. I wouldn't want to see it on a consistent weekly basis or anything like that. So if it was to happen, there is ways that it can be done would be really, really exciting. I mean, I've seen one person on Twitter say the idea of Seth Rollins versus Jay White would be an incredible feud, and I agree with them. I think that's an exciting proposition. Matches-wise like that, if they're booked correctly, would be amazing. But at the same time, I'm one of those people, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. Apparently the rumors are this has been going on for months, apparently, the talks, and we've still got New Japan working with AEW and Impact Wrestling. So let's see how it plays out at this point. I don't know how you feel about it, Jonesy.
Yeah, I think the main person that's pushing the deal is Nick Khan. Nick Khan's obviously come from kind of nowhere, does a lot of deals. He's got a lot of trust. He seems to have a lot more power than Vince these days to do deals. When we look at this, for me, I can see if it happens. I can see like bigger stars from WWE going into the odd Tokyo show. I don't know if you're going to get Roman Reigns. Back in the 90s, I know WWE used to have a working relationship with Michinoku Pro, but Vince always said, you're not having Hulk Hogan, you're not having the Ultimate Warrior, but we'll send you, I don't know, the Big Boss Man or somebody. We'll send you Demolition. We'll send you something like that. But for me, I think it'll be okay. I think if they can get like a Will Ospreay when he's recovered out of it as part of the deal, or if they can get some others, I think the crucial thing with this, Steve, is crucially this will affect AEW. AEW obviously have recently had Kenta, Nagata, Rocky Romero, Ren Narita, plus John Moxley as well, working with New Japan Strong. Impact Wrestling have had Juice Robinson, David Finlay, El Phantasma, Kojima. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of relationships that could be sort of done. This could be the end of the forbidden door. It's really, really big news. I'm dubious if it can work. I don't trust WWE to not put anyone else over besides himself, based on the fact what we had with, I don't know, the invasion. That's prime example for me. They don't seem to want to put anyone else over, but I think this could turn into NXT Japan, in all honesty. I think this is just going to be not particularly great. We'll see if it happens, though, definitely.
And we'll have to indeed. I think there's 3 names that I think particularly New Japan fans will be really excited about of people they've had previously. It's AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Finn Balor. If those go over there for appearances as well, I think they'd be very happy. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, I think, had a match at Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago as well. So there are things to be excited about. But like you said, I've got my dubious feeling about it as well. And like you say, it would affect that Forbidden Door massively. I mean, from WWE's point of view, wouldn't that be a shame? Yeah. But yeah, of course, from AEW's point of view, I can imagine that they're probably not too thrilled about the news.
Definitely. So let's go on to our last kind of news story we've got today. So our last news story we've got Summerslam 2021. Huge rumors regarding the main event. It seems to be out there. So we'll go into it. This could be a spoiler. If you don't like spoilers, maybe tune out just for 5 or 10 minutes just while we discuss this. So huge spoiler. It looks like at the moment John Cena is returning. He's due apparently to come back at Money in the Bank. That's kind of the rumor I heard today. He'll be back at Money in the Bank. he won't cash in and he'll face Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. What do you think of that match, and how does that feel you? Does that feel excitement, or are you a bit kind of unmoved by it?
I did hope originally we'd get Rollins versus Reigns on the story booking, but the idea of Cena versus Reigns, you want to make this big SummerSlam. Fans are coming back. You want to get a bit of hype. WWE at the moment, I mean, SmackDown isn't really the show that it feels like needs the help. It's probably Raw and NXT that need the help more. But if you want to put a buzz back in your product and you want to book a big main event, there isn't many main events you can book better now than John Cena versus Roman Reigns. That would bring eyes to the prize. The casuals that are around in the noughties, they would come tuning back in to see what Cena's doing. And Roman Reigns, compared to the last time these two had a feud, it's a totally different ballgame. Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, the head of the table, the heel that we always knew he could be. It's not passing of the torch. It's now Cena almost wanting to come back and take food off Roman's table. And that's what makes it a really interesting dynamic. So for me, as a match, I think it's one of the biggest matches. And I know there's rumors of stadiums potentially for SummerSlam. This is stadium worthy.
Definitely. I'm going to put it out there, Steve. I think for me, yeah, it's okay. It'd be great to see John Cena back. Obviously, we haven't seen him since the Firefly Funhouse where he disappeared. I'm interested to see what happens. I'll put it out there now. I actually think the fans will cheer Roman and boo Cena. I think Cena's work is very much like Roman Reigns 2017. The fans want to we're a bit sick of him, if it makes sense. It's almost like a Hulk Hogan that never loses, but interesting what they do. Crucially, Roman Reigns needs to go over, which kind of makes sense. I would love Roman Reigns to go over, and in the long term, I'd love to see Cena turn heel, but I don't think that's going to kind of happen. But this will be a big match. I think the backup match they've got a couple of backup matches. The ones they've got as a backup, there's two that I think are really, really dubious that please don't happen. The two they've got is Undertaker, Roman Reigns, which is horrific. I just think that's going to be like, as much as I love the Undertaker, it's just not going to be good. And the other one they've got is Goldberg, Roman Reigns, which is obviously we were going to get that WrestleMania kind of last year. Luckily got out of it, but for me, either one of them two. It's great to see the Undertaker back if it happens, but I'm not a fan. I'm over Goldberg. I think it wouldn't work in a stadium. The only other money match that I think is better than this that they can do at SummerSlam is Brock Lesnar. For me, I'm more interested in Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns than I am John Cena, Roman Reigns. What do you think of that? Who would you rather see out the two matches?
You hit the nail on the head there, really, with those other two, Undertaker, Goldberg. I don't have interest in that. Taker's retired. Goldberg, I suppose it's better than doing it at WrestleMania, but still don't want to see it. Of those two matches, I would go for... Lesnar versus Reigns makes a lot of sense because of the advocate Paul Heyman. But I think Cena chasing that 17th world title against Reigns, if you can get him in on the short term, Cena is a draw. So I'd want to see that match. Get Lesnar as well, put him against Lashley on Raw.
Definitely. I've got to ask you, Steve, just before we kind of go into the last part of the SummerSlam report, last thing I was going to say to you, does this show that there's a real lack of kind of serious contenders to Roman Reigns' title, that they haven't got confidence to go into a stadium with the current roster they have, that they're having to go back to the well to get some of the legends? What do you think of that? Or do you think that it's just such a big stadium, they need to get somebody that everybody knows?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. SmackDown is the show that's kind of building the new stars to take on Roman Reigns, and those people like Cesaro, Big E, they're not people that fill this stadium up, sadly. They're not ready for that role. They've got the right people, but these are the people that could be that person in sort of 3 or 4 years' time. Raw has players like that, but the problem is Raw's not doing very well. So they kind of have been forced to go, well, we've put everyone we can on Raw to try and help the ratings of that show, but creative is creative. So they need to go outside of the box, and Cena probably still is the biggest draw that they can get hold of. Lesnar as well. Those two are fantastic for the company. So those would work. Goldberg does work in the short term. We would have the fear factor. But if you said you think people would cheer Roman Reigns over Cena, they're definitely cheering the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, over Bill Goldberg.
Definitely, 100%. Let's go to the last two bits about SummerSlam. So we've got last two bits of news. Last bit of news we've got on this, we'll do the first one. SummerSlam crucially is going to be going on Saturday night, which is really kind of unusual. They're going to be going head-to-head with the Manny Pacquiao Errol Spence fight, which is kind of brave. I'm surprised WWE have done that. Apparently, that's at the request of the stadium. The stadium has insisted they want a Saturday pay-per-view, but surprised they're doing that. And the last big bit of news, apparently we've got a guest host for SummerSlam at the moment, apparently penciled in, Cardi B. I thought she was going to be at WrestleMania, in all honesty, so I'm surprised to see her here. Are you excited by Cardi B there? And it's going to be a Saturday show.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, her name was dropped on Legends Night on Raw at the start of the year, and that led to a bit of buzz and almost a bit of heat exchange with Lacey Evans on Twitter. But of course, that's not a possibility to do. But getting Cardi B in, I mean, that's an outside presence. He worked really well with Bad Bunny. So I think that this could be a good direction if they were to do that. And pay-per-view on a Saturday, well, I mean, for me, it's different to what I'm used to on the WWE trend, but at the same time, I'm down for it. I'd be quite interested to see how that will play out. And of course, it works quite nicely for once they'll do a review on a Sunday rather than waking up on a Monday.
Definitely. Looking forward to it. It'll be a good show. I'll be interested to see what they do. Fans back, it's going to be great. Steve, listen, I thank you so much for doing the show. Just before we end the video, please tell everybody what you're coming up on your fantastic channel in the coming days.
Thank you very much. As always a pleasure to come on this channel, and I want everyone to subscribe to your channel now, leave comments, and give Jonesy the praise that he deserves. My channel, SCW, the wrestling channel, the Q&A is returning tomorrow. Ask SCW, answering your questions in the wrestling community. On Monday, Jonesy, I've got your good self going to join me for AEW Double or Nothing review, for the backlog as well, for stuff as well that people are going to check out now. We, along with Wrestling with Waldridge, did In Your House, Bad Blood. I was going to say Hell in a Cell because it was the first ever Hell in a Cell, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels retro review with Kane making the debut. We recorded that last night live on the channel. Go and check that out. It's a really fun stream as well, with nice little bits of comedy here and there as well. So it's good to go and check that one out. And of course, yeah, I mean, of course, Double or Nothing, the predictions are on the channel for you right now to go and check out as well.
Definitely. Steve, listen, I want to thank you so much for doing this show. That's it from here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your comments. I hope you enjoy AEW Double or Nothing tomorrow. As always, stay safe. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please hit the thumbs up on the way out. And if you could subscribe, that really helps. We are on the road to 150 subs. It'll be great to get there by kind of Money in the Bank if possible. But no, thank you for watching. This has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling, joined by George and Steve. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Cheers, guys.
See ya.